Stephen Cameron and Danielle Cable were staying at Stephen's house in Swanley. Danielle, she was 17 at the time, had only just passed her driving test in her own car. They decided they would go out and go get some bagels. Stephen had a rascal van that he was setting up with his electrical business. And Stephen convinced Danielle, now that you've passed your driving test, I want you to drive because there may be occasions where you will need to drive the van. She was very nervous, understandably. She gets onto this slip road and took the road of this unknown driver in a Land Rover Discovery. And the driver then cut across the front of the rascal van, being driven by Danielle with Stephen in the front passenger seat. I believe there was some gesticulation by Stephen towards the driver, who then saw, I'm not putting up with this, saw red, got out of the vehicle, as did Stephen. Danielle stayed in the driving seat, having been told by Stephen, stay there. And she's now got a front row seat, so to speak, of what's happening, and the two of them in front of her, and they're exchanging blows. Stephen Cameron was a very fit 21-year-old, was getting the better of the older man. The man turned round. Stephen thought he was getting back in his vehicle. End of the confrontation. He turns round to get back into the van. Incident over. And Danielle shouts to Stephen, Steve, he's got a knife. Stephen then turns round and he's stabbed twice. And at that stage, the man gets back into this Land Rover Discovery and disappears.
Stephen Cameron fell back into the arms of Danielle, and as a result of that, she was covered in blood. She was hysterical. She managed to make a phone call to Ken Cameron, Stephen's dad, who was at home watching the Monaco Grand Prix. She could only just about state that Stephen had been stabbed and where they were. And as a result of that, Ken got in his car and drove to the scene.
The knife had penetrated Stephen's heart and liver. His fiancée, Danielle, had witnessed the incident, along with a number of other motorists, who were able to give the police a detailed description of the man responsible.
On that Sunday, there were lots of people out and about in the vehicles, and they saw an incident. Some saw what they thought was someone plunging something towards a young man. But they didn't see it all. They just see parts of it. So it's like a jigsaw. But the main component of that jigsaw was what Danielle saw. The irony was, of course, Stephen, when he'd been stabbed, Danielle took him in her arms, and all he said to her was, Danielle, get the number, get the registration number. And nobody got the full registration number of the vehicle. The best we could ever do was get it as an L-registered Land Rover Discovery. And out of the 30 people that saw these bits of what went on, we had 5 different colours for this Land Rover Discovery, which ranged from black to dark grey, silver to maroon to green.
Although police had a make and model of a car and a letter of the registration, there were 18,000 L-registered Land Rover Discoveries on their database at that time.
You do the forensics, you do all the witness statements, knocking on doors, but what you haven't got is any named suspect. All you've got is a description of a middle-aged man driving a Land Rover Discovery, and he's disappeared.
The police were able to use witness descriptions of the attacker to build up an EFIT image of the suspect, which was then released to the public.
So we were getting phone calls from all over the UK, really, about the potential for somebody who they knew was driving or owned an L-registered Land Rover Discovery who might vaguely fit the EFIT. I mean, EFITs are okay, but they're only as good as the witness can produce. And therefore, of course, it's never an exact science.